right, Miss Vivian. Thank you once again for sitting down with me. Like I said, OnRec magazine. We're an online digital magazine, basically geared towards artists and businesses who just looking for a spotlight within the River region. This month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I wanted to spotlight just some people's experiences, survivors, or anyone who knew anyone who had breast cancer and know some survivors or what have you. So what I have is a few questions, and I just wanted to get your story. I appreciate you once again for seeing me.
My pleasure.
How old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was a very young, 34 years old.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So now I'm a survivor of 26 years.
That's
so,
awesome.
Very, very happy and very proud to be able to share that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now I want to ask, did you do a traditional lump test like they say, or you felt something by accident, or were you just sick one day and you just went to the doctor? Or
No, I'd always done monthly self-exams. You know, I'm an educator, so of course that was really important.
Awesome.
And I had brought it to the attention of my doctor for 2 years before I was diagnosed, and each time he says, no, it's not anything to be concerned about. So it wasn't until I pushed the issue and I called and demanded that I get a mammogram that things started happening. So that was the first step, and the rest is history. So
now, I, being as though I'm not as educated as most, if you could just explain what a mammogram is, just in your own words or what have you. That's just where they examine the area.
Well, they examine your breast. It's a way that technology, like an X-ray, they can see down into the tissue and hopefully, identify breast cancer at its earliest stages. It's not 100% foolproof, but right now it's the best that we have. And so I think the guidelines now are, they encourage you to get your first mammogram, especially by 50, but it may actually be 40. So if you could follow up and double check on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's changed a little bit. They've gone back and forth about the need. But the main thing is to do the monthly self-exam, so that if through the years you notice there's a change, you can go to a doctor and say, look, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what's normal. This isn't normal, and I want it checked.
Oh, right.
You got to be a little bit of an advocate for yourself.
That's right.
So,
I like that.
So anyway, and then, you start doing your annual mammograms whenever the time is right, and at least then they get a baseline, and they can then detect any changes that might happen through the course of the next years.
That's interesting. That's interesting. If you're comfortable with answering, what was your initial reaction when you got the results back and you reread over them? What was your initial reaction? Were you just shocked, or just?
Well, yeah. Well, the first thing they did was, I had to have a lumpectomy. Or biopsy, I should say. I didn't do a lumpectomy. I had a biopsy. So they actually went in to look at the tissue. They pretty much knew once they got in there that it was a very large tumor, and that it was sitting very deep, and that's why it wasn't quite identifiable. But when I asked him, I said, well, after the fog kind of lifted, and I realized what he had just said. At 34, you don't expect to be told that you've got cancer. But I just asked him, I said, well, can't you do a lumpectomy? And he said, well, no. And he says it's too it's too large and it's too deep. And I said, well, how large is large?
Yeah, yeah.
And he held his hands up and,
Oh.
you know, made out like an egg. And he says, well, it's like a grade A large egg. and I always laugh and I say, you know, I haven't looked at an omelet the same way since then. You know, just visualizing, you know, that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was, you know, quite shocking. But you know, it was, you know, I'm a former volleyball coach, so I was working at the University of Minnesota at the time, and of course, you know, that old coach mindset kicked in. Okay, so what's the game plan? What are we going to do? You know, we got to beat this thing, and what's the game plan?
That's all right.
And you know, so he laid it out, and then you know, just a few days later, I had a mastectomy. And then follow up with radiation and chemotherapy, and took a estrogen, a hormone inhibitor, I should say, for over 4 years. So, but went 7 years, had a reoccurrence. You know, so I've done this several times. You know, it was 7 years and then 14 years, and then you know, right now at this stage, we basically treat it like a chronic disease. Okay. Because in my case, it ain't going away.
No. Okay. Okay.
So we. We manage it.
That's all right. I can stop this.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Your strength is truly amazing. I see it just exuberating off of you. You're an amazing woman. You have an amazing outlook on the position that you're in, and I love you for that. I have to ask, I just want to ask, how would you say that it affected you in your normal everyday life at the age that it came about? Like, I know, of course, you weren't expecting that, but did anything change as far as like any plans? Like, were you planning on hitting the lotto and then just like, oh man, I can't play?
No, nothing really changed. I mean, I was very healthy through the process. You know, I never got sick. Okay. Didn't lose my hair the first time. And so, you know, it slowed me down and a little bit. You know, I always laughed and said, well, you know, if 50% is my 100% for that particular day, then, well, that's the best that I can give. So, so I would go in and because I knew, you know, if I was going to feel bad, it wouldn't be till much later after my treatment. So I'd go back and I'd go to aerobics and get a workout in, and you know,
that's
and then
awesome.
You know, as the you know, the white cell count, you know, dropped. You know, I'd be tired, but for the most part, you know, I've done extremely well. Been very blessed through the process.
That's awesome.
So I can't complain.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How would you say that does it affect you still now? Like, does it play a role some days now, or not so much?
Well, yeah, I'm on a daily chemo pill, so you know, I can tell when my white cell counts are bottoming out because I get really tired. But you know, for the most part, you know, I've had to adjust a little bit because I've got, you know, some I deal with cancer in some of my bone areas. So you know, I can't quite lift heavy weights like I used to, or I shouldn't, let's put it that way. So, you know, I have to adapt to where I am right now, but I'm still out every weekend working in the yard and, you know, doing all those things because it's something I love.
Yes, I've heard.
And you know, always a project going on, so you just have to deal with it. And again, thankfully, I'm very healthy. And still, and you know, I just take it one day at a time and try to adjust however I need to in order to make it the best day possible.
Gotcha. Okay, what what is the process of the treatment? I don't know a lot about the forms of treatment or what have you, or what they offer this day and age, but if you could expound on what is the process of treatment.
Well, there's lots of different ways. Of course, chemotherapy, that's one thing. Those are a drug or a combination of drugs that are actually, infused into your body that attacks the cancer.
Okay.
Radiation, which to me isn't quite as bad, but still, you have to deal with your skin being, it burns and gets red and a little irritated and things like that. Plus, you have to go to the hospital every day for a certain number of weeks in order to get your treatments. And then, that's the one great thing nowadays, is that there's a lot of different options.
Okay.
Sometimes if you catch it early enough, you don't even have to have treatments.
All of that. Okay.
And of course, that's the reason why you need to be diligent about your health. Is to make sure that you're paying attention. And don't let the doctors poo-poo you and say, come back in 6 months or a year, and then it's something a little bit more than what they suspected. So you have to pay attention, and like I said, do your monthly self-exams when the time is right. Start your mammograms and get those annually. But the main thing is to know thyself, as the Bible says, know thyself, and I'm talking physically in this case. But so that if something is out of the ordinary or it's not normal, that you can go in and you can say, we need to look at this. Something is just not right.
I definitely understand that. Well, it's funny that you mentioned all those reasons. My next question is going to be, what would you change about the process? If you could change anything about it, what step or what outcome would you change in the process of the treatments?
Oh gosh, well, if you don't have to do it, that's the best possible thing. If you do, I think the number one thing is you need a good doctor. A doctor that matches up well with your personality and is knowledgeable, obviously, and that is going to listen and that's compassionate and that is gonna look out for you. It's really gonna take good care of you. And so, in terms of changing. Things are changing. I mean, there's so many more. 26 years ago, the drug that I'm taking, you couldn't just take a daily pill. Like I do now. 26 years ago, hormone inhibitors were just being introduced into the medical industry for use of patients.
Gotcha.
Those have changed. So there's so many new drugs coming out that I just stay hopeful that every time if my cancer changes, then we've got something to turn around and knock it in the head.
Exactly.
I always talk about playing whack-a-mole. Have you ever played that game? You know which one I'm talking about, where the little gopher sticks its head up and knock it on the head with the hammer. I said, that's what my cancer is like. It's like playing whack-a-mole. It'll start
pop up over here.
It'll start rearing its ugly head and whack. Here it comes. We have to knock it down, and it'll behave itself for a while, and then it'll pop up again and whack. Here we go. So we're playing whack-a-mole, but thank goodness more and more things are coming out, and even some of the immunosuppressant sort of treatments where they're actually able to go in and it's so target directed that it destroys the cancer. The tumor or whatever. But there's side effects to that sort of treatment, so they're working to try to improve that. But every day I live, we're a little closer to to a cure.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'd like to be around when that happens.
I don't doubt that.
And
you
hopefully
will.
it's going to be sooner than later.
I don't doubt that you will be. I really don't. Now, I know from what I've read, I know that sometimes with a lot of these things, the doctor not exaggerates. He emphasizes on having a good support system at home as well. Did you have a lot of friends who understood what you were going through and were very sympathetic and were very helpful and very supportive?
Oh gosh, yes. From my family to my work family to my family of friends. You know, I'm very fortunate because I had a lot of support, and they were always asking, how can I help? How can I help? Almost to the point I had to look, guys, back on. You know, but I know they love me, and they just, you know, sometimes they feel helpless and they just want to do something, and so I had to kind of give it up and say, okay, bring supper over, or I need a ride over to the infusion center, or you know, this or that. So you know, it really I think makes a difference, and I think that's why it's important that people who don't have a good support system is that we figure out as people, whether we know or not, we try to step forward and be as helpful as we can, so that, you know, they feel loved and supported through the process, because I do feel like it's very important.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now I know you're probably going to say heck no to this next question. Your spirit is very strong, but the question I'm going to ask is, was giving up an option? Do you think giving up ever crossed your mind? Well, I'm pretty sure it might have crossed your mind, but do you think you ever had the option to give up?
No. Well, like I said, I'm an old athlete. You know, I compete to win.
Yeah.
You know, and no, I don't look at it like that. You know, one day at a time.
Yeah, that's an awesome awesome motto.
Yeah, it's you know, you take it one day. Those days seem to pile up. It's been 26 years. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That's right. That's right. Now, this part right here is just, it's for sections for people who really don't understand as far as the paperwork side of it, and insurance, things of that nature. Was it hard trying to find either your current insurance? Would they stick around, or is it hard finding insurance for to cover certain procedures? And
well, fortunately, because I've worked in an educational setting, you know, I've always had good insurance. Okay. And you know, of course, I always make sure that if need be, I paid more in order that I could have the doctors that I wanted. Gotcha. You know, unfortunately, you know, that's not the case for everybody. Yeah. You know, it's still the out-of-pocket cost. I mean, we have flex benefits where it's pre-tax dollars that they take out that can be used for co-pays, for eyeglasses, for you know, dental appointments, for drugs, things like that. So I take out as much as I can so that I can use that. Well, here it is. It's just turned October, and I've been taxed out. You know, all that money because of you know, I've been in the hospital a couple of times. You know, drugs went up. You know, which is really a shame because, you know, the cost of drugs is absolutely ridiculous considering how much it costs per pill, and that they're charging me out the wazoo. You know, it's just not right. I was watching TV this morning and they were talking about I forget what pill it is. It takes $1 to make that pill, and they charge $1,000 a
Yeah,
pill. So the
wow.
pharmaceutical companies, I'm sorry, if you're out there listening, you're not going to get any sympathy from
I know,
Vivian
right?
Langley, because the pill that I'm on, because I have insurance, is $120 a month. That's how much I pay, which is a lot.
That's steep.
That's steep. That's why my money is out. So from here until the first of the year, that's out of my pocket.
Yeah,
So it can get a little tight.
Yeah.
But I know someone who is getting ready to go on this particular drug called Ibrance. It's newer on the market. And because of her situation, she had to take a medical retirement and is on Medicare. I think it's Medicare. And because it's a government health care plan, the government doesn't qualify for discounts. Now, you tell me how that's right. If she goes on that drug, she's going to have to pay $3,000 a month. So I'm going to get up on my high horse about this. And again, anybody out there, you call your congressman, you call your senators, and you tell them that they need to do something to rescind back, I forget what part it is, but it allows the drug companies basically to charge whatever they want. But what it does is it exempts the pharmaceutical companies. They can charge the government whatever they want to. That's not right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people that depend on that governmental insurance in order to be able to get the treatments that they need. And so I'm sorry if I sound a little bitchy. You better bet I get a little bitchy about this, because it's too important. Too many lives are at stake. And I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Pharmaceutical, you can put some of that money back into the people that you're basically stealing from. In order to pad your pockets, and it's not right. It's about do the right thing, and they're not doing it.
I've seen it happen. My mom, she went for broke caring for my stepfather, and he had to have a leg amputated. He had bone marrow cancer, and they paid for the amputation, and they told him, everything's fine, just try not to aggravate it. He was in a wheelchair. He was upset, of course, and she pawned her car, title, all of her retirement, basically depleted. It ran her dry, so she had to move in. I welcomed her, of course. She had to move in with us.
That's the way it happens. I mean, go to Facebook. Are you on Facebook?
Yes, ma'am.
Go and look up Paulette from Mississippi, breast cancer survivor. She did a beautiful video. I mean, it's a real short, but she is a breast cancer survivor. She had a double mastectomy, and she walked all the way to Washington, D.C. without a shirt on, because she wanted people to see. I
think I've read that
what
story.
It is, and to make sure people understood.
It's not as pretty as a hashtag.
You may be having a bad day, but they would look at her and they go, well, you know what? My day is not nearly as bad. But the point that she was making is, she wanted Congress. She wanted the folks up in D.C. to realize, and they talked about how she lost her home. She lost her transportation, like your mother and your family. And she talked about, cancer don't care. It don't care if you're black or you're white or green or yellow, or if you're 2 or 102, or if you're rich or poor. It don't discriminate. And that's the truth. I mean, we're all affected, and particularly people that are wealthy, they can end up having very little because of the high cost, and people who don't have the money and that don't have the means to, well, they're just they're up the creek without the paddle, because they really stand to lose even more. But I encourage you, go go pull that video up and listen to her story.
Okay.
Because it's really amazing, and I think it really puts things in perspective.
Okay.
You know, about the financial impact that it can have on you.
Okay. Were there any donors? I know I hear a lot of people saying, you know, they do the walks and what have you, and they donate a percentage to certain cancer facilities, or you know, for families and victims of breast cancer, what have you. Or is there anything like that that people can just call and say, hey, I need $120 for medicine this month, or is there anything like that?
Well, I mean, there are programs around. I don't really know any programs that you can just call in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first place that I would check would be American Cancer Society.
Gotcha.
To see what programs that they currently have. East Alabama Medical Center. I know women who can't afford mammograms. They
Gotcha.
have a program, their breast health program, that they fundraise for on an annual basis. They've got the Wine, Women, and Shoes event coming up, and I know they raise, I don't know, maybe $100,000 plus, but that money goes back to Lee County and to service Lee County residents.
Okay.
So, you know, if there's anyone, you know, here in the area, and I'm sure Montgomery probably has a program similar to that through the cancer center there. And but that would be the first thing I would do. You know, I would check with the cancer programs,
Gotcha.
Nonprofit associations.
Gotcha.
To see what they do to help people who need the assistance.
Gotcha. I think I'm on my last question. What advice, if any, or what, I guess, just final thoughts and comments would you have for anybody out there who is just experiencing breast cancer, who people who want to know just a little bit more about it, want to, you know, just sympathize with a friend or family member? What advice or any words would you have for them, if any?
I would say the best advice I got was courage and faith.
Gotcha.
You know, have courage to face the battle, and faith to know that you won't go through it alone.
All right. I like
You
that.
know, that's always been, you know, I've shared that many a time.
Mm-hmm.
So be diligent with your health. You know, if something seems strange, as I've said before, make sure that you go get it checked on.
Gotcha.
Rely on your family and friends. Let them help you. And, certainly, the main thing is just take it one day at a time. Because, a lot of times it adds up to a lot of years.
Yeah.
But, have you ever heard of the Race for the Cure? It's a huge race. Well, it's not even a race. It's a walk. Some people run it. Because I lived in Minnesota for so long, I was there the very first year that they had it, and the only time that I didn't do it was when I lived in Colorado Springs before moving back. And so the last time, 7 years ago, when I moved back to Auburn, before I moved back, I participated in the Race for the Cure out at the Mall of America, which there are 65,000 people.
Wow.
There. It's absolutely one of the most amazing things.
That is amazing.
And the breast cancer survivors, they always give you a cap. Well, I've kept mine, but they give you a little pink ribbon for every year that you've survived. Well, this particular year, it was 19, and this young woman came up beside me and she says, "Wow, she said, how many years is that? And I says it's 19. And I noticed that she didn't have any ribbons on hers. And I said, so when were you diagnosed? And she said, last week.
Oh, wow.
She says, I'm hoping someday I'll have 19.
19, yeah. That's all right. I like that.
Yeah, so I told her, I said, well, you just keep the faith, girl, and keep on walking. And I said, one day at a time. And I said I'll be prayerful that here soon you'll have 19.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, once again, Miss Vivian, thank you so much for sitting down.
No, it's my pleasure. Like I said, I'm actually glad that I had a little form since that came up this morning about how Congress has put a loophole in the law that allows the government that the pharmaceutical companies can charge our government whatever they want to.
Yeah.
And they want to know why. I mean, there's a deficit and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, excuse me, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's just not right.
Not right.
And you know, the older I get, the less I care about what other people think about me.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a position that if I can say something today that in some way that would motivate our people here in Alabama to get up off their backside, and I'm talking about the people up there on Goat Hill, and the people that we are sending to Washington, D.C., that to get their hands out of their pockets and to do the right thing and to make sure that the pharmaceutical companies are not, well, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say what I'm thinking, but what they're doing to folks with the cost of these drugs, it just is unconscionable that they can sleep at night doing that. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for bringing the awareness forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's important. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
Is awareness and education. And you know, it's surprising at this day and age, you know, how many women and even men get breast cancer.
That was, you know, I was Googling that to see.
Yes.
I never could find a straightforward answer. I'm glad you said that.
Yes, they do. It's not a large percentage, but they do. Years after I was first diagnosed, when genetic testing came in, and they had me do some testing because they wanted to see if I carried a particular gene, the BRCA gene. Because in my case, you know, there's no family history. You know, my father had prostate cancer, and there's some, if I'm not mistaken, there's some research that says if your dad had prostate cancer, that maybe you're at a little higher risk at getting breast cancer. Now, like I said, don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, what they told me is the reason to do it is because I've got 3 brothers, and that if I came and if it was found that I had this particular type of gene, that they would have been at a higher risk of developing breast cancer. And so, you know, I could tell them, okay, bros, let me tell you, you know, you think I've been doing those monthly self-exams? Baby, you got to start too. You know, so, but fortunately, I did not have it, so that did not put them at a higher risk. But, you know, I encourage men to also be diligent and to also, you know, they're supposed to do monthly exams too. So I encourage, you know, young men and to make sure that they understand about what they need to do in order to stay healthy.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, this has been very informative. I'm sure the readers and the listeners, they will, well, not listeners, but the readers will definitely find this piece very informative. I'm going to cite some upcoming walks and different foundations that, you know, can also help with the awareness. And that's all I wanted to do was just put more awareness on it. I wanted to make sure that I captured someone's story who could just shed a little bit more light past what Google, would tell me or what have you. I needed somebody with a personal experience. I appreciate you allowing me to record your story.
Oh, absolutely. I've always said if my experience can help someone else get through whatever they are, because like a lot of women, when they hear cancer, they think, oh my gosh, if I go through chemo, I'm going to just be deadly sick. I'm going to lose my hair. I'm never going to be right again. All these different concerns go in. Well, I can say, well, okay, I've been through this. I've done regular chemotherapy 3 times. And then I've done other, shots, and not like I said, I'm doing pills, but, first time I didn't lose my hair.
Yeah.
Never got sick.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, through, the chemo and radiation I did 26 years ago, and then 7 years later when I did a stem cell replacement, which it's like a bone marrow transplant. I never got sick. Not one day. Now I lost all my hair. I definitely, because they put it on me drug wise.
Wow.
I mean, it's a very intense treatment. And then 14 years later, when it reoccurred, because of the drug they gave me, and it got aggressive, so we got aggressive back at it. I lost my hair again, but you see, it grows back.
It looks
grows.
amazing.
I know, it grows back. It's a little thinner, unfortunately, because I used to have some big old beautiful thick hair, and now I laugh and I say, it made it turn gray. No, I was already. but yeah, so you deal with it. I even wore a wig, back.
Okay.
In the day. Once I didn't, the first time because I didn't work in the public eye, so all I had to do was wear a cap and I went to work. And then, the next time, because with my job at Auburn, I'm out meeting our alums and out in the public and meeting people, and, a wig was more appropriate because, when I go in to meet somebody, it's a shock to see somebody with no hair. And I didn't want it to be about me.
Yeah,
I'm there to meet them and to get to know them, and of course they can see, well, you lost your eyelashes and your eyebrows too, so they can tell something's going on. But it's less noticeable.
Gotcha.
And in no way would I ever want them to be uncomfortable.
Exactly.
I don't want to put them in that situation. So, but I don't know what that had to do with the price of eggs in China. That's chemo brain. There is such a thing called chemo brain.
Well, I'm the same way. I do that, man. I do the same thing. It's so funny. I get to talk about something, get wrapped up in it, and then it's like, wow.
Oh, I know. Everybody says, well, I don't know what my excuse is. I don't have chemo brain. So.
I know, right?
But
this has been amazingly awesome. Just a really big eye opener. Your spirit, like I said, your spirit is so beautiful, so strong.
Well, I appreciate that. Like you said, I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I've got my 6-month scans coming up tomorrow, so I've got my fingers crossed and my toes crossed and my legs and everything else that everything will be stable, and that we won't be making any changes or anything, but that all is well. So you just stay hopeful and just always like I said, hope for the best, and you prepare for battle if you need to. But hopefully that's not going to be the case.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm not going to take any more of your time. I think I've got enough information